All right.
That was your I'm recording notice.
You know me well. Had to do my yell at everybody. Oh boy. Okay. Anyway. All right. So 5, 4, 3, 2. All right. We're back in for another one. I'm Jay, and tonight I have with me Star Wars Extraordinaire.
Caffeinated.
Caffeinated. Okay. What other names you got, man? You got hell of them. They change every week.
The humble Star Wars nerd. Let's go with that one this week.
We'll roll with that. So, how are you doing this evening?
I am good. I am filled with energy and caffeine. Survived my 42nd birthday unscathed.
I can't believe it, man. The kid is 42.
Didn't mean to make you feel old, but
No. I'm more just like they just need that, the kid running around the dojo is 42.
yeah. Now I got literally my own kid running around. Oh my God.
If a kid of your own, man, that's it trips me out. I think it's wonderful. It's just good to be here.
Right? I've become slightly less annoying.
Mileage may vary.
It's me being humble.
Well, right on, man. Okay, so we're gonna talk about Andor. Okay, each show has been different, and each show has had its complications for various reasons. Some we didn't predict. How about that? Certain things we thought was going to be coming down the line, and certain shows just went left field that we was not expecting for.
Book of Boba Fett.
Exactly, that we wasn't expecting, right? Okay, so this is an interesting one, even to the point where when we did our review of the first three, and we were like, okay, let's watch the fourth one and we'll see what we'll do. Let's stop and regroup and see what the situation is. And after seeing the fourth one, we were like, okay, let's wait for the
fifth.
And then we watched the fifth one, like, you know what? Let's wait for the sixth one. And we kind of noticed that there's kind of like a pattern. There's an arc that seems to happen within 3 episodes, how it kind of gives us enough to cover.
Clearly, first 3 is an arc. 4, 5, and 6 is another arc.
Yes.
So it was worth waiting to see the full arc, not because nothing happened or it was slow. It was not. It did not feel slow at all. It did not feel like there was fat. It was just like, clearly this is an arc. Let's get the whole arc.
It's very interesting because it's like something that you kind of discover as watching, because sometimes when you're in the middle of stuff, you're so used to a certain kind of beat, and when you don't notice the beat, you could get easily lost. And like you said, it's not slow, but I understand why people would take it as such, even though that's not the case. And I'm wondering, and I guess it don't really matter, but I'm kind of curious on how people are dealing with this show as far as enjoyment or even taking it in. Because if you are watching it and say you stopped in the middle of the arc, say you went to episode 2 and you're like, you know what, I'm not feeling the speed of this, I'm not feeling like this is going anywhere, and you don't go on 3, then you're lost. Or if you do go, you watch up until episode 5, this is a lot of talky talk and not much going on. It's just like, I'm wondering if people are catching the rhythm. I think we caught it pretty quickly. Like, okay, we're seeing how, hey, let's eyeball this and see what's up. And we kind of quickly figured what was going on. So I'm kind of curious if people are catching the flow of the show. What do you think?
So I've seen a couple things online. I don't have any other of my sort of Star Wars friends that are sort of like watching it right now. They're kind of burnt out on Star Wars, to be honest. Not because of this show. I think kind of like the sequels killed it for them a lot. But I have seen other chatter in other places online where like I don't know, there was some metric or something where it was like the demand or interest metrics for like the different Star Wars show as they rolled out over time, and it's like Andor's really low, and it's like, okay, why? Like, you can only speculate as to why, but like, I've seen some people complaining like, oh, it's so slow, and it's like, no, it just doesn't have explosions every episode. There's a difference. I watched this great video the other day. I can't remember the name of the YouTube channel, but he was talking about like not Andor specifically, but just streaming services in general and how they structure their shows, in that they haven't adapted from like, oh, we tell movies in a 3-act structure, let's do a 3-act structure. But it's like, yo, you're sort of inciting incident, the end of the first act. If you apply that to a 10-episode arc, that's like episode 3 maybe, right? And then like, where do you place the last act? And it's like, you can't, there's just like too much filler in a chunked up episode. So he was just talking about like different ways that you structure sort of a online on-demand series that's not necessarily the 3-act structure. And as I'm watching it, I was like, he needs to go check out Andor, because they're telling arcs that are part of a larger character arc. We're going to see Andor and probably Mon Mothma as a secondary character, and Luthen, their arcs, but within these 3-episode chunks. Granted, I have not seen the one that came out today, number 7, but apparently it's a bottle episode. It's a 1-episode arc, right? So it's not part of a longer story. So they're playing around with the structure where they're not necessarily doing, we're going to do a 3-part arc, and then we're just going to have a bunch of filler. It's like, no, we're going to tell a lot of smaller arcs within a larger series of episodes. And so far it's fucking working. Because one of the interesting things, I was watching Matt Colville the other day, and he was talking about, you know, the Rings of Power and his general opinions on it as Tolkien-esque. But he's a writer as well. He's a Tolkien nerd, and he's not like, oh, it's trash. It's just like, it's different. It's an adaptation. But one of the things he was talking about is how often are we seeing a meaningful character moment, a meaningful character choice, and or the plot advancing, right? Because that's the meat. Everything else is fat, right? So if we apply that to Andor, like, it's a lot. There's probably a third category, which is like world building, setting the table, right, where you're introducing information. But again, if you do that well, you do that world building, you introduce information at a moment of character choice or at a moment of plot, right? So like, I think it was the third episode where he goes and tries to get the tickets off planet, and the guy running the booth is like, hey, who are these whatever people? Oh, and it's the backstory about where he comes from, but it's from the public's perspective, right? So they're mixing that together. And with these 4, 5, and 6 episodes, again, it didn't feel like there was fat. Like, there's the, what is this a scene building up Andor, right? Giving him interesting choices, part of his longer arc, because there's a lot of setting up the other rebels that he runs into, because the plot is there's some rebels that are going to steal some fucking money, Imperial payroll.
Right.
And we have to learn who they are. And so it's through Andor interacting with them, and you're setting up the little Imperial base and the guy running it, and like everyone else. You're setting up these characters because they're going to bounce off each other in all sorts of different ways, right? And so it didn't feel like fat. Like, everything was meaningful, everything was consequential. Like, at least that was my take.
Yeah, same here. And I was loving how even the stuff I didn't know why it was happening and why it's being shown, how I knew that I wasn't seeing it for just no reason. Like, you know it's going to play into something. You get the Imperial side. You get the government side. You get all the chess pieces and you learning their moves. So this one moves like this one. This one moves like that. And so it's just like, what's going to happen when they all get on the board together. But
Right.
it's not going to be a move that's going to happen in the future that I am not going to already know how those pieces move, and I'm going to be playing along with the game. It's not like I'm just going to be, my hands are tied. I feel like I'm ready to play. And so that just kind of brings it to another level of enjoyment, because you just like knows like, okay, we got this insecure guy. He got something to prove. He got his mama on his back. He's trying to be something bigger. She doesn't see him as that. You got Deidre that just won't let it go. She got something to prove herself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody got their thing. And they just kind of give it to you a little bit. And you even seeing how the government woman, I can't think of her name, but you get to see her husband and her daughter, and how her daughter don't disrespects her. Mamasma. And then you get to see her husband and how he's kind of dismissive. The daughter's kind of dismissive, and you know, I'm sure you have something to do with it, and you kind of like it. So it's just her duality and what she's trying to do, the stakes that she has with dealing with all this. And so what she could possibly lose and what it could cost her is different than somebody else. Everybody got their piece on the board. And all of the cards is going to fall differently for the different players. And it's going to be interesting to see how and where they fall.
It's interesting because it's very clear, at the very least, what the stakes are for certain people and why they're invested in whatever they're doing, right?
Yes.
It's one of the interesting sort of characters from the little rebel group is Cameron, right?
Yeah.
Comes off as just sort of very brusque and like, gotta do this, gotta do that, and it's like, okay, that guy needs to fucking chill out. And it's only when we get to like, I think it's like the third episode, maybe it might be the end of the second one, where it's like, oh yeah, he's a former stormtrooper, and it's like, oh, that's his whole military training just coming out.
Yeah, you get all the pieces. Like
he's just like totally shut down into just being a trooper. It's just he has switched sides, and it's like, oh, that is so fucking perfect.
Yeah, with all the, even though there's like, you know, okay, so I guess a total of 7, including Andor, but everybody got their angle. Everybody in there for different reasons. And they don't just dump it on you. They just nuance it out.
It was just so fascinating, like the different takes on all these people. Okay, most of them, maybe not Arvel, who, man, he was such a great character. Like always just up Andor's ass. But everyone else is diehard for the rebellion, but from totally different approaches, for totally different reasons, right?
Yeah.
Like Karis, the philosopher. The political philosopher, and it's just like, oh, you sweet angel. It's like clearly like you believe so deeply in justice that you don't need to have been hurt directly by the Empire. You just understand that the Empire crushes people, and so you've decided you have to fight it, right? So it's like you don't have to have the tragic backstory to fight the Empire. It's just like, no, the Empire is bad, and I think we should stop it. And yes, I'm a total innocent, and I don't know what I'm doing, but
everybody had their lane, and I like that you got the chance to know them by spending time with them instead of, like I said, like a short excerpt by some other character, throwing out their backstory like that. You kind of, earn the knowledge that you get from the characters, which has been very interesting. And with this arc that we've been having with 4, 5, and 6, we're kind of witnessing the logistics of a heist, and it starts from the funding to the planning to the pieces, and then finally to the messy execution of it all.
Yes, because of course it has to get messy. It has to go wrong. I did love because, heist movies are fun. It was kind of a thing that I would have liked back in Book of Boba Fett, right? The planning phase.
I remember you mentioned it, yeah.
But the hilarious thing is, like, you kind of expect, all right, it's Star Wars. It's going to tech up. We're going to have a hologram, like the layout. And it's like, no, hello, I'm the little philosopher guy. I build an actual model of it out of, like, twigs and bark and moss. And it's like, no, it's to scale. And then it's like, yeah, we have to burn the whole thing when we're done.
I know, it's like tragic. You know what those models reminded me of and made me think? of, and I know it's not related to it, but you know what I thought when I saw those detail models?
Warhammer.
Doc Brown with his little dioramas he would do for Marty. And he said, "Oh, sorry, I didn't have enough time to do a more elaborate presentation for you, Marty." He said, "Oh no, Doc is all right." And it was like this perfect representation of everything, and he was doing
model.
Right, exactly. So I couldn't help but kind of think of that when I saw those. But
they did a great job of laying the ground, right? Anytime you're going to do some sort of heist or anything else like that, where there's a plan, where you need to know where things are, laying the ground. And they did a great job with that. At the same time, they weren't just laying the ground. They were also having a discussion of like, are you in or not with Andor? Because he's getting to see the plan for the first time and go, oh, what the fuck is this? This is the plan? This is the plan? And they're like, yeah, you fucking in or not? And he's like, I guess I'm in. Like,
yeah, and I love his realistic responses because it's kind of like, okay, am I hearing right? Like, are you guys testing? First, he was like, "Are you guys testing me?"
Right.
And I'm sure he wanted to say something else, but are you guys testing me? And it's like, no, we want to see what you're going to say about it. Wait, you guys don't know what you're doing. Like you asked me the wrong questions. Like to the point where he's like, you know what? I'm driving it, and then what's the chick's name? Val was like, he was to the point where I don't even care if you say that it was your idea or you know, I'm driving. Like I'm gonna put my butt on the line for this. I'm driving because like you guys don't know what you're doing. And so it was pretty cool to see, like, you know, the folks that's been there in charge was kind of like not even knowing exactly how they're gonna pull it off, because he's like, what were you gonna do if I wasn't here, you know?
Right.
And so that was like a little bit of a sign of what we were going to end up dealing with later on. But I like the realness of it, and it was kind of like, I wouldn't say it was played for laughs necessarily, but it was kind of like that uncomfortable, like you know, this is gonna work, you know. But I kind of liked how
it wasn't
as blatant as it was subtle too.
Right.
It
wasn't competence porn where it's just like everyone knows exactly what they're doing and they're so good at their job. It's like, we're a bunch of normal people that are going to break into an Imperial stronghold and steal the payroll for a whole sector out of the vaults and fly out in their ship.
And they were so in over their head that they didn't even try to fake confidence. they didn't. You know, sometimes somebody try to buck up when you try to test them. They didn't even try to fake it. They just kind of like it just kind of fell apart. Like they didn't even try to pretend as if they knew what was going on. They tried for a second, but it kind of like they knew they had.
Yeah,
no
once
idea
they're
how
in the
they were gonna
vault
pull
and they're
that
like
off.
loading stuff up, and the other squad shows up and like, what's going on? And they're like, you shouldn't be here. Go leave, Commander. And it fell apart so quick.
I love how like little strings just kept falling apart, like somebody coming to check on something, or somebody noticed the lights are out. And I'm so used to, especially when it comes to Star Wars, I'm so used to anything with the Imperials or with the Stormtroopers. I'm so used
being
to
incompetent.
So
confident.
everybody catching everything. Everybody's catching something. This don't quite sound right. This don't quite look right. Somebody's saying, "Oh, go ahead and leave," and they still stand there like, "But that's not right." And nobody's letting nothing fall apart. It even started off like that when the guy was like, you know, they were bad cops, let them go. Even the guy was like, I'm not letting it go. Nobody lets nothing slide.
They're not. The writers are not inherently making it easier for the main characters. So like I'm looking at IMDb and it's Corporal Kimmets. He was the radio guy.
Okay.
Right? He's the radio guy that noticed there was something weird with the communications were getting blocked, but not understand. And he put it all together. But before that, he's the guy that Lieutenant Gorn is like, get back to fucking work. Stop slacking off. He's like smoking a cigarette outside the radio tower. And it's like, okay, if you just took that, it'd be like, well, that guy doesn't give a shit about his job. But he does. And when he noticed something was wrong, he stepped up, took initiative.
Right.
Like, and figured out that shit was going sideways and we need to get to the vault. And it's like, oh my God, like I think he died, but if he didn't, he should get fucking promoted. That's exactly what you should do. but like, yeah, the writers are not lowering the bar and making the antagonists weaker when it's inconvenient because they wrote themselves into a corner, right?
Yes, yeah, and I appreciate that, and I also appreciate how our motley crew of thieves, they are not slipping on banana pills that just popped up in the middle of the road. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they are in over their head, but they are competent in what they have, and they're just trying to work it out. So it's not necessarily going to be, it's not a clean road for them. And you see them actually trying to stay sure-footed within the craziness of the situation. So everything is kind of even keel as far as the stuff coming up and them trying to work through it versus it just being over, like they fall and don't get up. They're constantly trying to move, and there's levels to it. Like even how somebody, you think they're not going to make it, and then they get hurt, and you think, oh, well, they'll make it, and then they don't make it, and it's just
Yeah.
It's just like, what? Like this show does not play. This is a grown-up show. You know what I mean? Like, and I love it. And it's weird for Star Wars. This is what all the Star Wars should have been. This is the interpretation, my kid's mind, but when I'm an adult, this is what it really looks like for real. I don't know if everybody's gonna be ready for it, but I don't care. Right. I think this is mature.
If people want Star Wars to grow up, it goes in this direction.
It's nuanced, and I think this is the way to go. They found their secret ingredient if they choose to use it. Yeah. If they choose to use it. Could you imagine Obi-Wan through this filter? Could you imagine Boba Fett through this filter?
It might even makes me different shows.
It even makes me curious about. Shows. It even makes me curious about the Mandalorian, and I love the tone of that. But even Mando through this lens, oof,
it becomes radically different if it does. Like, and just the small moments that all these characters get, like in the Mandalorian, you've got already less characters. And they're already more, I don't want to say cartoonish in like a stupid or silly way, but I mean cartoonish and simple, right? Yeah. They're not complex necessarily, right?
Right.
But, so going back to Vel, the leader of the little rebel crew, before they jump off and rappel down the dam, you can see she's like, she has to give the go signal, and she's just like, fuck, like, because she's in charge and everything is gonna be her fault if it goes wrong. Right. And that is such a normal human thing, and they took the time to put that in there, and it just like, it helped round out her character even more. Like, there's choices of how to humanize all the characters in there, right? So if we go to the Imperial engineer, Colonel Pettigar, that came in to do the inspection or whatever it was that the commander was trying to impress, he didn't pull his sidearm when they were being taken prisoner to protect the money. Right. He said, let the kid go.
Right.
Let the commandant's kid go.
Right.
So the evil Imperial is like, yeah, no, you need to let the kid go. I'm not telling you to let the commandant go. I'm not letting you to let me go. Let the kid who's not my kid go. Right? So we're not getting this sort of easy black and white sort of morality depiction stuff. There's so many things. So one of the best sort of examples of like, there's really good writing, there's really good show instead of tell. Right. So when, I forget which episode it was, but he was introduced to the crew, Andor's introduced to the crew, and Arvel's like, oh no, don't worry about Cinta, like, someone else is warm in her bed, right?
Right. I think it was either 2 or 3, but yeah.
Right, and I think that's when he's like, hey, yeah, the Imperials killed her whole family, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, don't try hunting there. Like, she's already spoken for.
Right.
So the interesting thing that I did not catch, but as he's saying that, they're showing Cinta and Vel, the leader, walking out of the same hut. And it's like, and so there's that little bit of like, she's she's warming up her bunk that's there together, and I missed it.
The second time.
So there's like the holding the hands and stuff, but I think that's when they're doing the insertion mission. But before that, it's when Arville challenges Andor, and it's like, I found your money jewel. Like, why the fuck are you here? You're clearly a mercenary.
Yeah, it's worth all this money. Right.
All this money. Why the fuck are you here? Da 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 da. And Andor does the smart thing, and I'm so glad the writers did it, is instead of just like continuing to hide information from each other to cause tension, just like, yep, nope, I'm a mercenary.
Yeah.
I'm a mercenary, but I'm here. I'm doing this. Let's fucking do this. I need to know you guys aren't going to stab me in the back. Like, we need to be on the same page. Don't use, like, that whole thing about don't use me as an excuse for you to back out.
Exactly. Like,
because I've been here.
By trying to put it on me.
We all get cold feet before we do this. Don't try and use me as an excuse for you to back out and call it quits. Right? But part of that scene is a little thing where the crew sort of gets together because Bell, the leader, didn't say anything, and they kind of just look at Cinta, and Cinta just says, yeah, she didn't tell me anything. So it's like, that's pillow talk. The second she said that, I was like, oh, that's who Cinta's sleeping with. Because why the fuck would why would they look to Cinta? Everyone was like, and she's like, no, she didn't tell me anything. It's like, why are they assuming oh, it's because it's pillow talk. She's the person. Vel is the person warming her bunk. And it's like, that is such amazing writing.
Yep.
Such great writing. I loved it.
And the third time when she approached her and was like, was she going to be all right because she was going to be, left behind? And she just lightly put her hand on top of hers, and she was like, I'll be all right. Like, like, I'll be fine. I'm like, huh, okay. So yeah, it's the rules of three. It's the great writing. It's the nuances. And the thing is, and it's funny, because if on paper, if somebody say, hey, what happened on, episode 4? Well, he met everybody. He met the crew. What happened on on the 4th episode? Oh, they got ready for the heist. They're planning for it. What happened in episode 5? Oh, episode 6? Oh, heist. So it was almost like, how do you even talk about this, because this stuff is normally would happen in one movie. This would happen in an hour. They'd be like, quick cut. Like, this kind of scenario is usually done in an hour or 2 hours. Or less.
It could be an episode of Leverage. It could be an episode of Leverage. We're gonna break into a bank and we're gonna blame it on the Imperials.
Exactly. And this just had its own way of getting to the same thing. And I thought, like, it was nice and pleasant to witness. And like I said, I didn't feel like I wanted to be somewhere else. I didn't feel like I needed an explosion. I didn't feel like I was getting jammed with all this information I have to digest all at once. It was just so nicely done. And I haven't seen a show or a movie that have done this kind of thing, really. And like I said, I would liken it to, and I spoke to you about it before, I would liken it to like the new Dune movie. Like how it felt the same way, how it felt like it was story, and it took deep breaths with stuff, and stuff just kind of happened, and you learned it by watching. Not all tell. Some of it was tell because that situation, it is a movie, but still it breathed. You knew them before they got a chance to tell you who they were in certain situations, which was beautiful. Like the relationship between people, how people feel about somebody, what the world is behind them, what the stakes are, all this stuff, the stuff that they're insecure about. So you got all this kind of stuff that you think would be a throwaway. And what makes this show brilliant in a way and make these characters so compelling is that everybody on here is expendable, and we do not know who's gonna make it, what their actual point is in the situation, what piece of the puzzle are they actually, how big of a piece are they really a piece, we do not know. And with that, they do not cheapen it. It felt like they went out in real scenarios that would earned their situation. Like it wasn't just like, where'd that come from? It was just like, this is the situation where it happened. They were in the middle of this, and this just went wrong. It just happened. It didn't have to be extra highlighted. It didn't have to be extra spectacular. Sometimes you die in the night. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's not that blaze of glory, but it's just as powerful and just as important. And it was just nice to see. Everything didn't have to be a spectacle. And it was. And even though it didn't have to be loud to do it. And I love that.
Though I will say the one spectacle that really was a fucking spectacle was the eye. Like, holy shit. I was like, all right, so you're going to get some fucking asteroids coming through and it'll cause a diversion so you can escape. I was not expecting Joseph's Technicolor meteor shower. Like, what the hell? It really was. It really was. Like, dear viewer, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in much, but I could see myself watching that and be like, I still don't believe in much, but I can believe in that is magnificent. Holy shit.
I saw that one lady teared up. I almost felt the same way.
I get it.
Yeah, because it was because it was so beautiful, and then also, we wanted our folks to escape, because it was just like, as beautiful as it was also dangerous. Like,
well, again, there's that delightful juxtaposition again, because people have died and are dying. Are they going to get out?
Yes.
And so it's like that's happening. So it's as much of like the beauty and glory of that magnificent experience of the eye with what we're also knowing is going on at the same time, which again, they did at the end of episode 3. Yes, they know what they're doing. That's not an accident.
Right.
There was a thing I saw where people were wondering, because Cinta is left with the hostages, the Commandant's family, right? Mm-hmm. And so it just shows her walking out at the base past the people watching the display, and it's like, did she leave everyone alive or did she kill everyone? And my guess is like, she just left everyone alive. They're all covered up and restrained. They're not going to do anything. She left them alive.
Well,
but we might find out later.
Last time she entered the area, she took somebody out. Right, because she took somebody out last time.
Because she was the one that shot the engineer.
She's not shy.
No,
exactly. So
she's ready to throw down. So
she set the tone for the situation to the point where the guy was like, she's killed before.
Yeah.
She shot the engineer. She's announcing, like, okay, like normally I would say go for it and be brave, but I've seen it. I witnessed her take somebody out. So he was kind of like, let them know, like, she's a shooter.
I also love that we get to see, now that Luthen is back on Coruscant, like, we get to see him being nervous and vulnerable, because when he was picking up Andor, right, he's got his hardened sort of spy persona, right? And we get to see him back in his little antique shop with his within the shop, she's the assistant, but honestly they feel like equal compatriots in the rebellion. Like, she's as much like, get your shit together, like, stop, like, either it's gonna go bad or it's gonna go good, but we're not gonna know until tomorrow, so just stop fucking worrying. Like, no one is a paragon of anything. Like, everyone is struggling, everyone is weak. Mon Mothma is like stressed out. She can't even talk to her own family about what she's doing. Luthen is fucking stressed out. Like, no one's got time to breathe. It's just it's so much better. It's so much better. And but if they continue with this sort of approach to doing their storytelling, I think, even if I don't know if the numbers are high or low or whatever in comparison to other shows or whatnot, but I think there's gonna be enough buzz of like, no, come check this shit out. Like, it's different. If you want more pew pews, it's probably not going to have enough pew pews. But if you want some actual character driven storytelling in Star Wars, show up and support this, because
another moment that really grabbed me was when Andor, when he came with Skeen. When Skeen came to him with an offer, and this is levels of chess that I really do. Okay, so we have an issue where when they're doing the getaway, Nimic He gets hurt. He has an injury due to cargo.
Idealist philosopher.
Right. So when the ship takes off, the bounty lands on him, does some serious damage, and he's hurt. They don't know if he's going to make it or not. And Skene's idea was like, hey, I think he's going to make it. Even though Val, the leader, was saying, pretty much just write him off. He's pretty much dead, But he was like, that's not fair. This kid was really into this, and we should try to save him. And so he convinces Andor to let's do a
back his play.
Let's go to the doc, find a doctor. Where's the nearest doctor? And I will say also about that doctor, that reveal was beautiful. But when they pull back and you see the extra hands working, and it looks so seamless.
It looks so good.
It's just almost like, there's no trick here. Just believe.
Right?
Believe.
I was like, how did they
just
do
believe
that?
it.
Is that two people?
It was so slick.
CG?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out. It was very fluid and slick. It was.
I spent about 2 seconds.
Strings.
How did they do that? And I'm like, I don't care. It just looks amazing. Keep going.
Yeah. So I didn't see the strings, and so while he's getting worked on by the doctor, and Val's there, and Skeen is back, kind of waiting, and he comes up and was like, hey, we could split this. And he said, why'd you need me? Because he said, I can't fly it. So if you fly it, you take your part, I'll take my part. And he's like, I have enough money to
80 million K. Yeah.
Right. And 40 is enough for me to forget who you are, and you could do what you do. And I love how it never fails, how Andor you see his mind moving, and he just makes his move. He knew he had to take him out.
Yep.
He knew he had to take him out, which I thought was just like, he always makes the tough decisions, and he never does it like it's cold or unthought of or uncalculated. You see it rolling in his mind.
Of just
now, the person he's dealing with don't see it like that.
Yeah.
Yes. Like the person just probably thinking like he's, because he always calculates before he makes his move. And I was just like, wow, that's crazy. And what I also like is when he goes back and sees Val and has a gun out on her. It's kind of like, hey, he's telling the doctor, hey, I'll buy your ship. I'll pay you twice what it's worth for me to get out of here. And Val's kind of like, what are you doing? And he's like, it's not like how it seems, Skeen, look, he's gonna steal the money, steal the ship, and leave you guys. And I don't believe it. And he's like, well, you need to think about it. And I like how he don't do a lot of time of trying to explain his the way he moves.
Right.
He like, I'll tell you, but you accept it or you don't accept it. I love he don't sit there trying to explain. And I also like how it's not like, that's how it's a smart show. It's not like the person is not bringing it up. So the question's being brought up, which is good. And then him not giving the answer just shows how he works and how he thinks and his rationale to stuff versus it just being sloppy writing and it's not being explained right. Or it's that kind of thing where if you just told her you loved her, you could fix it. You could keep her home. that kind of thing. They look at each other or tell her that you didn't do it. It's like, I don't have time for all this stuff. I'm leaving.
Right.
I'm taking what's owed to me. You take the rest and the ship. You give your friend back this.
Right.
And that's what almost snaps her out of it. Like, wait. That's when she thought to give him the manifesto.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if the kid genuinely is like, give this to Andor. Because because the kid at first is like, oh, we're all rebels. We're rebelling against the Empire because it's so bad and da-da-da. And then it's like, oh, you're a mercenary. All right, that's revealed. And the kid comes back and it's like, I'm trying to figure out how to integrate mercenaries within the rebel movement, like as tools to be used. And it's like, he never like X's anyone out. So I can legitimately see him on his fucking deathbed being like, give this to Andor because Andor is one step away from being us anyway. But like to Andor's thought process, he's like, I know how this fucking reads. This looks like I just fucking killed him so I could take his cut and da-da-da-da-da. I am going to walk in with my gun out to make sure no one shoots me first.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm going to dominate the situation. Mm-hmm. And then instead of taking everything, I'm literally going to just take my cut. I'm going to give Luthen's thing back, which is worth
more.
Which is worth tons of money.
Which was done earlier on. When the guy was trying to when Skeen was trying to bust him out and saying this is worth this much money, and wow, somebody who has this would even need to do a heist. So how much. So that's they did the legwork already. Yeah, and it wasn't even related to this situation.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah, and he's like, I can give back this thing that
Yes.
you know is worth a shit ton of money
Yes.
because I'm not gonna take it anyway. This
Right.
was given to me to like pull me in,
Mm-hmm.
and as a show of faith. And I'm like, I'm out. This is messy. I'm giving it back without being prompted to. I'm doing the honorable thing to give it back.
And you get
I'm
your
just
ship,
literally
and you get the
taking
money.
my cut, and that's it. And I'm gonna pay for it out of my cut. And it's just like, why? Okay. Yes, I would read this as you're just fucking taking our shit. But it's like you're doing all these absolutely unnecessarily honorable things.
Yep, and I am not over explaining myself. I'm giving you the truth. Chew on that. Marinate on that.
I'm not gonna try and convince you I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out.
And she's like, all right, take the manifesto. And it's just like you can see how much it hurts him that he gets the kid's manifesto.
He don't want any ties.
Nope. And that's
he don't want any ties.
That is what's gonna pull him back in, because I'm sure he's gonna read the kid's manifesto and be like, fuck.
As soon as he took it, I was trying to think, in the movie, did that manifesto come up? I know it didn't, but it made me automatically think, because that would have been so brilliant. I was just trying to think, did he have that on him in the movie? So, but I don't remember him having it. But
I don't think there is any
but I'm sure it's going to play a big part before this is all over.
Yeah, because
In
I have
some
a
kind
feeling,
of beautiful way, I'm sure.
I have a feeling that's going to be his token that keeps him sort of pulled in.
Yeah, man. These 3 episodes was quite the journey. I'm digging the show. Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up, but
it'll be interesting to see how the next few go, because the next one, 7, is supposed to be like its own sort of like standalone story. It's an arc of 1.
Okay, well, if that's the case, and I guess that would be like in the show, as far as I guess the whole thing, that would be the little breather where everybody kind of catch their breath. Let's check it out and see what 7's talking about, and maybe it'd be like a little one-off that we'll do for that. If it's something that we feel that we could have a decent discussion out of, maybe we'll come in for that one and then break back into our
I have a feeling the politics is going to get supercharged in that episode, because now the rebellion is like, yo, motherfuckers, we stole your shit.
Yeah.
So there's as much as like the Empire's like, oh, there's a thing now. There's the I forget her name, but the Imperial Intelligence Officer, Deidre. Oh man, I can't wait to see what she's doing, because she's gonna show up and like, I got fucking receipts. You told me not to pay attention. Here we go. Like there's clearly coordinated activity. Bob, I want to see her on the hunt. Oh, it's gonna be good. And now the rebellion has money.
Yeah. It's interesting, all these subordinates not listening. We keep getting examples of sit down, stay in the car. And it's like, wait a minute, what are you doing on the car? It's a lot of, didn't I tell you to stay in the car? You know, even from the first episode, all this could have been avoided if you would have just listened and stayed in your place. But like I said, it's for the betterment of the show. It's very interesting. Like I said, this is very nuanced writing and storytelling, and it's a really good experience. Like I
do want to see.
The show is not homework.
No, it's not homework. It's really enjoyable, and I want to see what they do with Cyril. So that's the lieutenant from the first 3, who sort of kicked off like, no, we need to hunt down this guy, because he's on Coruscant with his with his very judgmental mother.
Yeah, I thought it was very funny.
Man.
Yeah,
that whole relationship was done so damn well.
I'm like, what is this adding up to? This is going to be very interesting to pay off for this. He has something to prove on so many levels.
Clearly.
It's going to be entertaining to see what the payoff is going to be.
I want to see what his zig and zag is going to be, because he's going to do something very interesting. I think he's going to be really pivotal to this season. Like, even though he's not the main character, like, I don't want to. He's not the antagonist. I don't think he's going to be Andor's antagonist, but I think he's going to be an echo of Andor, right? So, no, this is going to be not jazzed at all. Nope, not super jazzed.
Yeah, I will say I enjoyed the end of episode 6 where it ends with a laugh and an exhale, and it's like I was there exhaling with him. It's
right,
like,
Luthen finally like, it worked.
We can breathe now. And the fact that he could even contain how happy and giddy he was, and just like, because we knew he was stressed and concerned that whole time, and to have that release at the end, that's how I felt at the end of this episode with everything that went down. And and the complications and the fallout of it
It's
all.
almost like giving the audience the permission to relax.
Yes, yeah, because when he exhaled at the end, so did I, and I'm like, okay, well done,
Right?
well done. Yeah, wow. Well, all right. So, do you have any last words?
So I will shout out that for all the eagle-eyed Star Wars nerds like myself, Luthen's shop was like filled with just fucking Easter egg shenanigans left and right. Like, and I like the fact that none of them are like centered. They're all sort of off to the side in the background, and it's just like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, they pulled that one in from The Force Unleashed. Okay, interesting choice. That's from Rebels. The craziest thing is that, like, in his back room up on one of the shelves, he's got a Jedi holocron and a Sith holocron. And I'm just like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna ignore that. That's cool. But, like, it's not that type of show. It's just one of those things where, like, all right, we're just gonna put those in the background. So the uber nerd's gonna be like, but I don't see this as being like some like big plot point, because that's not who these characters are. They're not tied into the Jedi and all the other stuff. But there's a lot of Jedi stuff in that room. There's a lot of Jedi stuff in his thing. And like
Very
Mandalorian armor and stuff like that. So yes, fellow nerds, I too notice those things, and they're nice. But like they're like the little bit, they're barely a cherry on top compared to the rest of this meal that is this show. So yeah, I think that covers all my nerditry.
Well, I will say I truly enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to this episode 7 to see what happens with that. And like I said, we will check it out. This has been a fun one, man. Like I said, I'm enjoying this, and I'm so glad that we're not in tears at this point, because like, I'm glad we're,
It's not Book of Boba Fett 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Man, I'm really, really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying the conversation. I'm looking forward to the next one. So I guess that's been Jay and Ryan. Until I know you're going to say something crazy. I'm getting ready for it. Until next time, peace.
Mediocre, goodbye. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. You stupid. Hey, we're going to stop this conversation here, but we're going to hit you back with another one soon.